Well, good morning. Now, this subject that I'm going to talk about today is probably different than anything that I've talked about, but it is something that I'm becoming more and more convinced actually is happening. So, I'm sure that you've heard over the last, how long have I been hearing it? About 6 months. These non-player characters. And what they're saying is that the masses of society are actually these non-player characters. I'm going to link a video at the end of this too, that I just watched that I found very good. So this is not used as a derogatory term. It actually has something that philosophers and scientists have been questioning since Plato's time, with the allegory of the cave. I don't know if you've heard of the allegory of the cave. So Plato described this allegory of a group of people that had lived their whole life chained inside a cave. And there were shadows from the outside world that were on the wall, and they believed the shadows to be real, right? And they were terrified of the shadows because they were very frightening. And one of the prisoners was able to escape, and he went out into the real world, and it wasn't scary. It wasn't like the shadows on the wall. And so he was very happy, and he wanted to go back and tell all these other people what was happening. And he went back and told them, and they said he was crazy. He didn't know what he was talking about, right? They didn't believe it. So those were indeed non-player characters. So when you look at non-playing characters, it's just people that live pretty much entirely in the unconscious mind. They don't have conscious thought, and that there has been scientific study into people's mind. They've imaged the mind, and what they find that people that have this conscious thought, this critical thought, that look at things and question things, when they look at their brains while they're in this process, they can see firing in the frontal lobe. But what they see in other people is that there's no firing in the frontal lobe. They do not question reality. They follow along. They're sleepwalking through life, right? They are in, and that fits in very well with my study of mind control, is that this programming in the subconscious mind. But something that I really didn't come to sort of consider until the vid scam was how many people actually live in this unconscious state and never, ever, ever question what they're told. They just go along with it. It's programmed within them to obey, to consume, to never critically think about what's going on, to not have any conscious reflection. And what science is proving, there are some people that don't have any internal dialogue. They don't talk to themselves. They're reactionary. They just go along with what's going on. And if we look further into scientists that are saying that we actually live in a simulation, this is a simulated reality. And to me, that makes sense. Because what is out there is an illusion. We create it. It's the energy vibrations that come in to our eyes that allow the brain to process and create an image of what is out there. Some say it's a holographic. It's a holographic simulation run by incredibly advanced AI. And that we are like a soft technology. And when you look at the first 7 years of life, when all the programming really starts, it starts actually in utero, right? Where we start to program, where we're programmed. And it makes it easier to learn, so that this automatic system that we have, where we just automatically react. What I have found throughout my life, I always questioned everything my entire life. Whether it's because of the history that I had being adopted, my grandmother was a child prostitute, she gave my biological mother away, right? What I lived through, I don't know. I have no idea, and I can't find out any more of my history. I don't know how far back it goes, but I can understand there's some interesting stuff stored in my DNA. Did that make me question reality more? I don't know, but I always did. Why? Why are people doing this? Why is the world like this? Right? And now I question it even more. Right? When I saw what happened with the vid, and then all the other, then stand with Ukraine, stand with this, go against this, go with this, be with that, and now the dark MAGA, right? And the dark enlightenment that is taking over, right? This new simulation, if you say, because this is what these guys are moving towards, right? A new virtual world that people become involved with that keep them asleep, and that these people are going to be their saviors. You have to understand that it's all theater for the mind, and that as you start to awaken, you start to see what's going on. You see it. But you know what? Not everybody's like you. Not everybody can see it. There are the masses, the vast majority, will never ever wake up. And it's not because they're not intelligent. Most are very intelligent. It's that they live in an unconscious mind. They're not consciously aware. They do not question reality. They do not question authority. It's like they follow a script. And they all say the same thing, right? When I was talking out against the vid scam, I was crazy, I was this, I was a conspiracy theorist, I was this. There was this narrative, and I kind of put it like a firewall. There's a firewall built in people. Well, there actually is a firewall built in people. Whatever you call that, right? That when something comes up, this is their automated response to what's going on, to people that are questioning the narrative, because it actually questions their identity of who they are. And that's not to be tolerated, right? And there's so much focus in this world in deadening our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that can see through the illusion, right? Why is that? Why do they do the things that they do? So I think that we need to consider this more as we move forward. Stop trying to wake people up. It doesn't do a thing. It doesn't do a thing. What you need to do is strengthen yourself and not fall back to sleep. And that was the thing that I found most unsettling, was with Trump and Musk, that a whole section of the freedom movement went that way. And anybody now that talks out against it is a black pillar, which I don't agree with the pills. That isn't it. It's people that can see through the illusion and see the reality, right? And then there's others that will never see through the reality. They will follow it. They don't know any different. If you start to question it, if you start to bring it up, you are crazy, you're a black pillar, you're this, that, and the other thing. So what we need to do is to continue to allow our consciousness to raise. And let me give you some examples from my own life about this non-player character and how I have chosen to move forward in expanding my consciousness and to be the best version of myself every day. So this was back in, 2018. It was before the vid. I kind of made contact with a family that I grew up with, right? So they were acquaintance. I hadn't seen them in, 40 some odd years, maybe 35. So this one girl, a little younger than me, heavy drinker by the by, and I'm not a drinker. I haven't drank in 30 some odd years. It's poison, kills the frontal lobe. We went up to where my cabin was, and I was sitting by the campfire, and I brought up one of my sort of opinions, theories on language. It's all symbolic. It doesn't really mean anything. The only reason that language, right, has meaning is that we give it meaning. It's like God handed down. I think I said God didn't hand down the language. It's symbols that we give meaning to, right, and give it credence, like money, right? Money is nothing. It's just paper. Well, it made me cry, actually, because I felt so isolated. She went, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I tried to put it in different terms, and she still was like, what are you talking about? I don't understand you. I had never felt so isolated in my entire life. It's like, Seems pretty plausible to me, because it's true. The only reason these symbols that we write down in language, the different languages, have meaning is because a group of people have decided that this is the meaning of those symbols. So that points out to me that that person was fully asleep and that she will probably never ever wake up. She is one of these, and this is just a term, non-player characters. But as I've said, philosophers, scientists have been studying this since Plato's time around what it is. So to be fully conscious, we have to question everything. And we have to look at the reality of what we live in. Now, when we look at synchronicities, I'm here because of synchronicities, right? Of being put in situations where I could see and intuitively knew where I needed to go. And it would just happen. It would flow perfectly, like selling my house in Barrie. On the market for 3 days, I got exactly, somebody said, that's a miracle. Found a house in an area exactly what I wanted. The same with here, coming to Panama, doing this, right? When I left the job at RVA, that was very interesting. About 3 weeks before I left that job, right? I knew I didn't belong there. I packed up all my belongings and said, I don't belong here anymore. And obviously, can you imagine if I couldn't have, because I wouldn't have, they would have put me in the psych ward, I'm sure, for questioning the vid scam. So, I'm going to link this video about non-player characters. And if it resonates with you, remember, you're in a very different spot than this rest of whatever this is down here. Keep an open mind, question everything. Thank God that you can see through it. And why is that? What is this down here? Did we choose to come here because we're playing a part in something bigger than we can ever understand in our limited thinking, our limited consciousness? And if we raise our consciousness, can we escape this simulation that we're in, right? And not go back to sleep. I never want to go back to sleep. I never want that. Even if they lock me away and say I'm crazy, I will never go back to sleep, right? I see exactly what's going on. I don't know exactly the mechanisms of how all this works, but I know that there's great effort over the centuries to keep mankind asleep. Well, the witches, they burnt the witches, right? You were, a witch if you floated. You were a witch if you didn't float, right? What was that? Were they just people that had higher consciousness and that they could see realities and that they could heal people with their consciousness? And remember all that DNA that has been shut off, the 97% of junk DNA. I think for the rest of my life, my goal will be to turn that DNA back on again, right? Using my conscious intention. So watch the video and come to your own conclusions. But I know what my conclusions are. Right? That this is exactly, and that we are in something that we really don't understand. And that, God bless, because when I look back in 2020, nobody understood this. Now, many people do. So not all the masses will wake up, but there are people that are waking up. And we need to keep awake. We need to not go back to sleep. And we need to not fall into fear, because fear shuts you down, shuts off this frontal lobe of the brain, and you don't want that. You want your frontal lobe functional, right, so that you can see through the illusions that are being passed to you. So I'll try to keep this one short because I could go on forever and ever. So have a good day today. Realize that there's something in you that if you can see past this illusion and you're not asleep, what is that? I think it's pretty interesting. Grasp each day. Create your reality, right? Mente, the mirror neurons, pulling in what you want, right, in your world, how you want your world to be. You create reality. Don't let somebody else take that and follow the masses of these people that are unconscious. They're just automated biological automation machines, actually, that just follow the crowd, right? They don't know any different. And if you try to say something to them, that firewall comes in and they will call you a black pill, or call you this, call you crazy, call you, but whatever, right? Have a good day. I hope you enjoy this video. Take care. Bye-bye.